All right. And we have some death and burial customs and traditions to end on. I guess that's fitting to end with the end, right? And one of the things you can find in Vance Randolph's Ozark Magic and Folklore, there's just page after page of omens and signs that someone's going to die. It's very, very morbid, but there were just part of it is going back to what Millie and Ed and various of us have said earlier. Death was such a common and unpredictable thing in those days, and there was so little that you could actually do to ward it off, that all of these things probably at one time happened. Someone heard an owl hoot outside the house, and the next day, little Billy died or something. And all these become part of these folk legends and folk traditions after a while. Now, some of these, like a cow bawling for no apparent reason, if you live on a farm, you're thinking somebody's dying all the time because cows are always bawling, and you never really know what they're bawling. You can sometimes tell they're bawling for their calf or they're scared or something like that, but sometimes they're just bawling. And that's what cows do. And so, according to that, every day somebody's in grave danger of succumbing. The whippoorwill calling atop a house, we've already visited the whippoorwill once, but you don't want a whippoorwill on top of your house. And I don't think I've ever, I'm still here, so obviously I haven't heard a whippoorwill on top of my house, but I don't, usually whippoorwills don't sit on a house,
No, they're out in the fields.
Yeah, they're usually on the ground, or they're ground birds. So that's what's unusual about it. I guess it would freak somebody out if there was a whippoorwill on top of their house, because it almost never happens. And it probably happened once that a whippoorwill called from the top of somebody's house and somebody died. And then, well, that's what happens when you have a whippoorwill on your house. So maybe you want to, they should have some kind of potion for warding off whippoorwills that you could put on top of a house, and that way you wouldn't have to worry about it. A cat licking the front door. Not really sure. I mean, that could happen really easy. Just drop some food, and it smears on the front door, and the cat's licking it all of a sudden. But there may be some kind of something for that. A turtle dove, a bat, or a screech owl in the house is a sure sign that somebody in that house was going to die soon. You wouldn't want any of those birds in your house. And most of us don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. When's the last time you had a screech owl in your house? Although that would be kind of neat. Screech owls make very unusual noises, and that would be... What's that?
It's that they're a sign of.
Well, it could be, yeah. That more than likely, if a bird got in your house, that would signal their quick death, because you're probably going to kill them. Or kill yourself trying to kill them, trying to get them out of the house. I've had a bird in the house before, but it hasn't been one of these kinds of birds. That's the key. It's been like a sparrow or a wren or something that gets in the house. And that's when you need a really fine mesh, fish net. Get them out of there with that.
Wouldn't have been uncommon back then, would it?
No,
That wild critters would get in.
Sure. Yeah, in a day when people didn't have storm windows, or you might not have windows, and you leave the door open, no screen doors, that kind of stuff. Stuff would be getting in your house all the time, and that's probably the least of your worries. Snakes get in houses and stuff. It's amazing that that's not one of the superstitions. A rattlesnake get in your house, somebody will soon die. I guess that's just kind of understood, That's. I would rather have a bird in the wall than a skunk. That happened to my house once. We got a skunk in the wall, and when a skunk gets in the wall and gets panicked, well, you can imagine what's going to happen. And they spray, And so, yeah, and then you move out of your house for a while. Yeah. But transplanting cedars, I've never known anyone who actually dug up a cedar and tried to plant it somewhere else, and maybe this is why. Or maybe it's just because there are so many of them in the Ozarks, why even bother, transplanting cedars? But I'm guessing one of the things you can do is if you go to an old cemetery in the rural Ozarks, there'll almost always be these huge cedar trees in old cemeteries. And I don't know if they just left, cut everything else and left a cedar too, or if somebody actually transplanted these things, and maybe there's some, the cedar tree as an evergreen, symbol of everlasting life, that sort of thing. I think that's why you find them in cemeteries a lot. But I wonder if people transplanted those to get them in the cemetery, or they just happen to be, growing there because we have cedars a lot. The loss of a baby's shoe. It's, again, kind of a morbid one there. I don't know if it's the baby that will soon die or if somebody else in the family dies, but